Chantry was a more robust man, somewhat rough, but hardy in his demeanor. Proud of his successful struggle with the difficulties which beset him in early life. And, above all, proud of his independence. He was born a poor man's child, at Norton, near Sheffield. His father dying when he was a mere boy, his mother married again. Young Chantry used to drive an ass laden with milk cans across its back into the neighboring town of Sheffield, and there serve his mother's customers with milk. Such was the humble beginning of his industrial career. And it was by his own strength that he rose from that position, and achieved the highest eminence as an artist. Not taking kindly to his stepfather, the boy was sent to trade, and was first placed with a grocer in Sheffield. The business was very distasteful to him. But, passing a carver's shop window one day, his eye was attracted by the glittering articles it contained, and, charmed with the idea of being a carver, he begged to be released from the grocery business with that object. His friends consented, and he was bound apprentice to the carver and gilder for 7 years. His new master, besides being a carver in wood, was also a dealer in prints and plaster models. And Chantry at once set about imitating both, studying with great industry and energy. All his spare hours were devoted to drawing, modeling, and self-improvement, and he often carried his labors far into the night. Before his apprenticeship was out, at the age of 21, he paid over to his master the whole wealth which he was able to muster, a sum of 50, to cancel his indentures, determined to devote himself to the career of an artist. He then made the best of his way to London, and with characteristic good sense, sought employment as an assistant carver, studying painting and modeling at his hours. Among the jobs on which he was first employed as a journeyman carver, was the decoration of the dining room of Mr. Rogers, the poet, a room in which he was in after years a welcome visitor. And he usually took pleasure in pointing out his early handiwork to the guests whom he met at his friend's table. Returning to Sheffield on a professional visit, he advertised himself in the local papers as a painter of portraits in crayons and miniatures, and also in oil. For his first crayon portrait he was paid a guinea by a cutler. And for a portrait in oil, a confectioner paid him as much as 5 and a pair of top boots. Chantry was soon in London again to study at the Royal Academy. And next time he returned to Sheffield he advertised himself as ready to model plaster busts of his townsmen, as well as paint portraits of them. He was even selected to design a monument to a deceased vicar of the town, and executed it to the general satisfaction. When in London he used a room over a stable as a studio, and there he modeled his first original work for exhibition. It was a gigantic head of Satan. Towards the close of Chantry's life, a friend passing through his studio was struck by this model lying in a corner. "That head," said the sculptor, "was the first thing that I did after I came to London. I worked at it in a garret with a paper cap on my head. And as I could then afford only one candle, I stuck that one in my cap that it might move along with me, and give me light whichever way I turned." Flaxman saw and admired this head at the Academy exhibition, and recommended Chantry for the execution of the busts of 4 admirals, required for the Naval Asylum at Greenwich. This commission led to others, and painting was given up. But for 8 years before, he had not earned 5 by his modeling. His famous head of Horntook was such a success that, according to his own account, it brought him commissions amounting to 12,000. Chantry had now succeeded, but he had worked hard, and fairly earned his good fortune. He was selected from amongst 16 competitors to execute the statue of George III. for the City of London. A few years later, he produced the exquisite monument of the Sleeping Children, now in Lichfield Cathedral, a work of great tenderness and beauty. And thenceforward his career was one of increasing honor, fame, and prosperity. His patience, industry, and steady perseverance were the means by which he achieved his greatness. Nature endowed him with genius, and his sound sense enabled him to employ the precious gift as a blessing. He was prudent and shrewd, like the men amongst whom he was born. The pocketbook which accompanied him on his Italian tour, containing mingled notes on art, records of daily expenses, and the current prices of marble. His tastes were simple, and he made his finest subjects great by the mere force of simplicity. His statue of Watt, in Handsworth Church, seems to us the very consummation of art. Yet it is perfectly artless and simple. His generosity to brother artists in need was splendid, but quiet and unostentatious. He left the principal part of his fortune to the Royal Academy for the promotion of British art,